Hey everyone, today we're going to learn a beginner version of Wonderwall by Oasis. We'll go through the chords used throughout the song so that we're familiar and comfortable playing them, and then move into how the song is played, step by step, verse by verse, nice and slow and together. Before you start playing, the first thing you want to make sure is that your guitar is in tune. I suggest that you use a digital tuner so that your guitar can be in perfect tuning. Today's song, Wonderwall, is played in standard tuning, but with a capo on the 2nd fret. Another thing to remember before you start playing is to make sure that your fingernails are cut nice and short. This will make it easier for you to press down onto the frets, and it will eliminate any unnecessary muting or buzzing on the strings. What we're going to do now is we're going to name our fingers. So finger number 1 is going to be your index finger. Finger number 2 is your middle finger. Finger number 3 is your ring finger. And finger number 4 is going to be our pinky. We name our fingers so that it's easier for me to explain to you which fingers you're going to use when you're forming the chords on the neck of the guitar. Okay, now let's move on. Okay, the first thing we want to do is we want to get in tune. So if you don't have a digital tuner, I'm in standard tuning, so what we'll do, since this song is played with a capo on the 1st fret, we'll tune without the capo on, and then we'll put the capo on after. So we'll start with our big E up here at the top. Okay, here we go. Okay, that's our big E. Now we'll go down to the A string. And there's our A. Now we'll go down to the D string. There's D. Now we'll go down to G. There's our G string, now down to the B string. And last but not least, our high E string. Okay, now that we're in tune, let's move into the chords used throughout the song. Okay, now Wonderwall is played with a capo, and the capo goes on the 2nd fret. If I'm correct, I know in the album version he plays with the capo on the 2nd fret, and sometimes when they play live they play with the capo on the 3rd fret. But for right now, we're going to play with the capo so you can play along with the song from the album. So the capo is going to go onto the 2nd fret. First thing you want to remember about a capo is to make sure it's nice and straight, so that you have the same tension across all the strings all the way down on the 2nd fret in this case. Okay, now let's get started on the first chord.
The E minor 7 chord is similar to the E minor chord except it uses 4 fingers.
So the E minor 7 chord is played with all 4 fingers. So what we're going to do is fingers number 1 and 2 are going to stick together, just like fingers number 3 and 4 are going to stick together. The way we're going to place them on the guitar is finger number 1 is going to be placed on the 4th fret on the A string. Finger number 2 is going to be right next to it on the 4th fret as well on the D string. And fingers number 2 and 3 are going to match up together down here on the 5th fret of the B and the high E. This is going to give us our E minor 7, which should sound like this. And that's that main first chord that he plays. Okay, the next chord is going to be a G major chord.
The next chord is a G major, or what I like to call a 4-finger G, where all 4 fingers are used.
Now the G major chord, or 4-finger G as I like to call it, is actually played in this fashion as a 4-finger G in this song. So how it's going to be played is finger number 3 is going to go onto the 5th fret now on the big E string. Finger number 1 is going to go onto the 4th fret of the A string. Now finger number 3 and 4 are going to stay exactly where they were for the E minor 7 on the high B and high E string. So our G major chord in this fashion should sound like this. Okay, the next chord is a D suspend 4.
D suspend 4 is almost identical to the original D chord and also uses 3 fingers.
So again, like the other two chords, we're going to keep our fingers down here, number 3 and number 4. They're almost never ever going to leave this position for the whole song. So fingers number 3 and 4 stay down on the 5th fret of the B and high E string. Now to complete the D suspend 4 chord, all we're going to do is take finger number 1, we're going to put it down onto the 2nd fret, or in this case, sorry, the 4th fret of the G string. And we're going to play it like so. It should sound like this. Okay, now the next chord, A7 suspend 4, is going to look like this.
A7 suspend 4 is almost identical to the C add 9 chord, except with an open A.
Okay, so the form that we had for our D suspend 4 is going to be almost the same for this chord, the A7 suspend 4. But instead of having our first finger on the 4th fret of the G string, we're going to move it up to the A string on the same fret. It should sound like this. Okay? Now the next chord used is a C add 9. And this should look like this.
C add 9 uses the same structure as a G major chord and also uses all 4 fingers.
Okay, again, with like all the other chords, finger number 3 and 4 are going to stay put. What we're going to do is a C add 9 is almost the exact same shape as a G major, except for instead of using the big E string, we're going to start our chord on the A string. So finger number 2 is going to go onto the 5th fret on the A string. Finger number 1 is going to go right below it on the 4th fret on the D string. And our C add 9 should sound like this. Don't forget, fingers number 3 and 4 are staying put on the 5th fret of the B and the high E. Should sound like this. Okay, now the last chord might be a little bit difficult, but it's a great sounding chord. It's called a D suspend 4 F sharp, and it looks like this.
D suspend 4 F sharp is a D suspend 4 chord with an F sharp note on the big E string.
Now again, as before, our finger number 3 and 4 on the B and the high E are still going to stay exactly where they are. Now, for this form, just like our D suspend 4 where we used our first finger to go onto the 4th fret of the G, now we're going to replace that finger with our 2nd finger, and we're going to put our number 2 finger on the 4th fret of the G. And then we're going to have to reach over with our number 1 finger, and it's going to go onto the 4th fret on the big E string. And it should sound like this. Okay? Alright, now let's move into the song now that we've learned all the chords that we're going to use. Okay, now that we've gone through all the chords, let's go through them nice and slow together. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the A minor 7 chord. Then we're going to move on to the G major chord. Now the good thing about this is you only have to move one finger. You move finger number 2, which is currently on the 4th fret of your D string, and you just move it down to make your G major. Okay? And then we go to the D suspend 4. Now to make this chord sound clean, we don't want to hit our big E string, okay? If we hit our big E string, it'll sound like this. So if you can, bring your thumb up here and just touch it. And then everything will sound nice, because then you only want to hit your A, your D, and then the chord. Okay? So that's our D suspend 4. And then take our finger number 1, lift it up, and bring it up just one string onto the D string, and then that's our A7 suspend 4. Okay, now let's play through that once together, okay? So, on the count of 4, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. suspend 4, to the A7 suspend 4. Okay? Now that's the intro. Now the exact same chords and chord progression are played on the verse. Now there's one change in the verse which only happens in the first verse. And now we'll go into that verse and I'll explain what I mean by the change and how it only happens in one time during the song. Okay, here we go. Okay, so as I said, the verse is comprised of the same E minor 7, the same G major, the same D suspend 4, and the same A7 suspend 4. Okay? Now, when he plays that, each verse he plays through that progression 4 times. But in the first verse, he plays that progression only 3 times. And then the third line in the verse is played with a C add 9, D suspend 4, A7 suspend 4. So basically he skips the E minor 7 and the G major. And I'll demonstrate it like this. So what I'll do is I'll start with the E minor 7 the 3rd time, and then I'll show you how he goes into the C add 9. So in regular time, so we'll go E minor 7 to the G major, from the D suspend 4 to the A7 suspend 4, and then he's already in perfect position to put his finger down to make the C add 9. And then he goes back to the D suspend 4, and to the A7 suspend 4. Okay, now in real time it should sound like this. Okay, C add 9. Okay. So, now let's do that together. So for the first verse, we'll play it the way the first verse sounds. So 3 times, E minor 7, G major, D suspend 4, A7 suspend 4. We'll play that 3 times, and then C add 9, D suspend 4, A7 suspend 4. Okay? Now let's do that nice and slow together. Remember, 3 times, and then to the C add 9, and I'll make sure I let you know when we're going to switch to the C add 9. So first chord, E minor 7 on 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. D suspend 4. A7 suspend 4. E minor 7. G major. D suspend 4. A7 suspend 4. E minor 7. G major. D suspend 4. A7 suspend 4. Now this is where we're going to go to the C add 9. So C add 9 on 3. 1, 2, 3. To the D suspend 4. To the A7 suspend 4. Now right after he plays that, that's when he sings the line, backbeat, the word is on your street. Okay? So that's how he gets into that. So the majority of the rest of the verses are all played with the simple E minor 7, G major, D suspend 4, A7 suspend 4. So if you can learn that, that's almost the entire song. But right now we're going to move into the pre-chorus, and I'll teach you that right now. Okay, so for the pre-chorus, this is the part of the song when he sings, and all the roads that lead us there are winding. He starts off with that. So the first chord he plays is a C add 9 in this progression. Then he goes to a D suspend 4. Then he goes to the E minor 7, nice low tone. Okay? Now he plays this 2 times. I'll demonstrate it at regular time and then we'll come back and we'll learn it together. So, on 3. 1, 2, 3. C add 9, D suspend 4, E minor 7. Okay? Now let's play that nice and slow together. So, C add 9, D suspend 4, E minor 7. Okay? Now on 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. E minor 7. Back to the C add 9. To the D suspend 4. To the E minor 7. Okay, now this next part of the song only happens twice, and it's probably the hardest part of the song. So let's start that now, and this part you're going to have to practice quite a lot. Okay, I'll show it to you. Okay, now after the first 2 lines in the pre-chorus, which we just learned, it takes a little bit of a twist. He still plays the C add 9, and still goes to the D suspend 4, and then he does a little bit of a run where he goes to a G major. Now he goes to the D suspend 4 F sharp, which we learned at the beginning, and then to an E minor 7, and then back to the D suspend 4 F sharp, and then with the last one that he goes to is the A7 suspend 4. Now I'll play through this once, and then we're going to have to go through it really nice and slow, because it's the fastest part of the song, and you really have to learn how to switch between chords to get it nice and smooth. So, on 3, I'll play by myself. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, since this is the hardest part of the song, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. So, the first part starts on the C add 9. Okay? Then he goes to a D suspend 4. And then the run goes from a G to a D suspend 4 F sharp, as you can see here, to the E minor 7, back to that D suspend 4 F sharp, and then to an A. Now let's go through this as slow as possible. So we'll start on the C add 9 to the D suspend 4, and then we'll do the run, and I'll do it nice and slow, and you're going to have to practice this on your own so you get some speed. So on the count of 4, we'll start in the C add 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. To the G, to the D suspend 4 F sharp, to the E minor 7, back to the D suspend 4 F sharp, and now to the A7 suspend 4. Okay? Let's try that one more time. On the count of 4, from the C add 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more time. C add 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. To the G. Okay. So that part is going to be the most difficult part of this song, but once you get it, the rest of the song is simple. Now we'll move into the chorus part, which is where he sings all about Wonderwall. Here we go. Now the chorus starts out just like the pre-chorus, on the same chord, the C add 9. Except instead of going to that D suspend 4, like he went to before, he goes from a C add 9 right to that E minor 7. And then to a G. And basically this is like walking forward and walking backwards. He goes C add 9, E minor 7, G, back to the E minor 7, then back to the C add 9. Okay, now that's the whole chorus. I'll play it to you so that you know what it sounds like, and then we'll play it back nice and slow together. Okay, here I go on 3. 1, 2, 3. Now it finally ends off on the E minor 7, and then he goes right back into the verse. Okay? Now let's play that nice and slow together. So we're going to start off on the C add 9, then we move to the E minor 7, then to a G, then back to the E minor 7, and then back to the first chord, which is our C add 9. Okay? Now let's play that nice and slow together. Alright, on the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. To the E minor 7. To the G. C add 9. E minor 7. G. E minor 7. To the C add 9. E minor 7 to the G, back to the E minor 7, C add 9, E minor 7 to the G, back to the E minor 7 for the finish. Okay? Now I'll play that one more time just so you remember what it sounds like, so that you can practice and try your best to get to the regular sound that he has on the radio. Okay, so it goes like this. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now that's the whole song. Intro, verse, pre-chorus, and chorus. Now just pay attention to the song so you can learn how it goes, and then you will have this song down pat. Now just remember, those bottom 2 fingers, number 3 and number 4, that's going to save your life trying to get into switching these chords, because those never move. What that gives you is stability. So try and keep those down all the time. Keep them nice and tight together. Don't move them apart. Keep them together. Alright? Good luck, guys, and thanks for watching.